Hello everyone, and welcome to another No Rest for the Wicked video. My name's Brian, if you happen to be new around here, and what I'm going to be doing today is taking you through the brand new Crucible update, everything that you need to know, and giving you guys some tips and tricks to mastering the latest update from Moon Studios and Private Division. A special thank you to both Moon Studios and Private Division for sponsoring this video. I was really happy to partner up with them for this because I am hopelessly addicted to this game, and they only made it even better with this rogue-like addition to the Crucible. So I thought I would give you guys my experience and hopefully help answer any questions and give you some tips and tricks along the way. If you guys are new around here and you like No Rest for the Wicked content, ARPG content, etc., that's what we do around here. We also do a little bit above and beyond and focusing in on good mental health practices, especially as gamers, but also just as human beings. And if you guys like to stick around to the end of videos, that's usually where we have those kind of talks. And we've got so many people responding, just like Sprash and Chris in the comments. So if I earn your sub, be sure to sound off in the comments so I can welcome you to the channel, both in the comments and also in future videos. And thank you guys so much. We are so close to 81,000 subscribers here at the channel. I couldn't be more both humbled and proud of this community that continues to grow and continue to encourage each other to grow in that way. But that's not why you clicked on the video. Let's dive into why you're here, and let's talk about the latest update. As a high level, for those of you who haven't been paying attention or you haven't picked up the game yet, there is going to be a link in the description of this video. Please go give it a click. Go check it out. If nothing else, go wish list and follow this game on Steam. This is an early access game, but I would classify this as a hyper polished early access game. So you definitely are going to have a good time, whether you want to spend 30 hours or if you want to be crazy like me and spend hundreds of hours in this game. First and foremost, the Crucible update is this name of the patch. This is their third numbered patch number 3 as we call it. This is not the multiplayer update, but we are going to be getting word on that soon, and as soon as we know more, I'll be covering it here for you in full details, just like we're doing right now. But the Crucible has been the main focus. They have brought in an entire roguelite system into this game, and I'm talking about countless ways to play and an addictive gameplay loop. One of the things that's a sign of a really good game is when you sit down and you say you're going to play for about an hour and then you look up and 4 hours has magically passed. That's the experience that I get out of the Crucible, and I could not be happier, but I can tell you some of the dishes are unclean. So after this video, I'm going to go do the dishes, and that way my wife will also be a fan of No Rest for the Wicked. They also, as a part of the this update, in and out of the Crucible, they've added a new enemy faction known as the Gloom. These are glowy little creature monsters that they tend to drop some items for you. Some both traces, which we'll talk about more in detail here in a second, but also the Gloom seed, which we need to be able to upgrade the Crucible, and I'll walk you guys through all of that here in a second. They added in a new upgrade progression system for the weapons. There's now a new tier called Exalted, and you can take your weapons, your armor, and playing through the Crucible and getting that Gloom seed is going to be how we upgrade our gear to be the best that it possibly can be. And I'm going to show you all that here as well. They also, and this is the coolest thing, and it's so subtle, but it brings so much oomph to the game, it's the combat. They have leveled it up with various different explosions and executions, and so what we say here is that the combat feels so visceral and it feels so satisfying, and you can't just help but get excited and cheer it on when it does happen. And outside of just blowing up your enemies, they've also brought in a softer touch with stray animals, dogs and cats, in which that you can pet. So it does start to feel like both they're hitting some really important check boxes, and I can tell you, yes, you can pet the dog, and that is, I think, an important thing that we all want to do in these games and in life. So yeah, if you have a dog or a cat, be sure to give them some treats today as well. I think that would be good for them. All right, then you also see that they've added in more areas to explore. Now, these aren't the full-fledged areas, but we see with the Black Trench and with the Nameless Pass some additional places that you can find and discover. I think this is really exciting, and it does does make me hungry for when we do see the next major story and zone expansion to the game. And for those of you out there on Steam Deck, as am I, Steam Deck verification has happened. Lots of quality of life improvements, lots of performance improvements. And if you guys witnessed my notes video, over 500 plus bug fixes. That was a monster to get through. So for those of you who hung out with me for the patch notes, thank you guys so much for sticking around through that. So now let's actually talk about upgrading the Crucible to make the most out of every run. To kind of highlight a few things, if you see here, I'm going to take my mouse and go into keyboard and mouse mode. Down here in the bottom, you're going to see your Gloom seed. That's the green orbs that you will collect. Then you can see your echo traces. I'm having a weird amount of fun trying to do echo free runs, or at least hold off on that, because you can use echoes to do a full heal. Now that's something you have to unlock. And when it comes to unlock priorities, let's get into it. First and foremost, let's meet our new vendor. He is always on level 5 of the Crucible. Now you can actually have some echoes that will allow you to skip right to him, but you can see here he offers a wide range of services once you have him fully upgraded. At the start, he's only going to have offerings in which you can see you can do Sacred Mending, you can do Unique Echoes, Glorious Exaltation, Echo Heal, Scavenged Remains, and Iron Corpus. So for those of you who are wondering, how do you now respec in this latest update? Iron Corpus is going to be the grind that you need to go on. Thankfully, it only takes 20 Gloom Seed, and roughly speaking, with RNG, Jesus out there kind of blessing you maybe a little bit, maybe you're talking about a handful of runs to be able to get the 20 Gloom Seed. It doesn't really take that long, but it can feel like a little bit of a grind if you got caught off guard. But I wouldn't personally push you into this as the highest priority, nor would I push you to Glorious Exaltation. The reason is that if we go into exalting items, you can see here to exalt, it takes 15 Gloom Seed for each. And you can see here I've already exalted one of my items, and it takes all the various percentages to, I guess, their theoretical max, and increase the overall damage of the weapon itself. But that's why I would not personally recommend this at the start of it, because there's ways to already improve your runs that are much more advantageous. And I want to start with Unique Echoes. This is where you'll start to see some really powerful echoes make their way into each of and every one of your runs. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get the ones that you want, because the echoes make sure that no two runs of the Crucible are the same. But you can see here, I would highly recommend starting with Unique Echoes to improve the overall quality of each run. I would follow that up with Echo Heal. They made a hotfix as soon as the game went live. Originally it was much lower, but now an Echo Heal will cost you 40 traces, and you'll get 100% life heal back from it. So it can be a very big saving grace and can save you a lot of money in time. And we'll talk about what do you do now for gear and how do you do all of that good stuff and make money here after we get through this entire upgrade segment. From there, I would then think Iron Corpus would be your third highest priority, and then after which you're free to obviously pick Scavenged Remains and Sacred Mending. I would save Glorious Exaltation pretty much to the last. Now, I started with this because I was generally curious how the system worked, but this is kind of hindsight being 2020, being that I wanted to make sure I got all of these features unlocked for the Crucible, so that way I could have a much better time. But now let's talk about exalting your items, taking them into a higher level tier. And you can see here it's going to take your weapon or your piece of armor or your ring, and it's going to improve several different aspects of it. Even if you have gems slotted, the gems look like they will be pushed up to their hyper realized option there. So like if I go and take a look at this bow, for example, you can see here it's going to increase weight. It's not adding in additional things, and it also could take it up and upgrade it to 2% focus for that gem. If I go look at my other bow here, you can see here damage increased by 7, jumping up to damage increased by 15. But 3 and 6 stay the same. So if you were already at the percentage cap, or a soft cap, if you will, on those gems, you're not going to get much of a benefit. So you would want to lower the priority that you want to use to upgrade these things. But it also doesn't just upgrade your trait percentages. You can see here several times you're going to have both a defensive or an offensive increase depending on the piece of gear. So highly encourage you guys to engage in this system, because you can take your exalted gear out into the open world and create even more devastation there. Now I'm going to take the upgrade to my bow because I use that so very much, and I want to be able to have that additional damage and stats. Now he will also have the ability to repair, and that is something that you will want to unlock if you want to continue to jump in and out of the Crucible without having to do various different runs. And the Crucible no longer gives you XP, it no longer gives you gold, it no longer gives you gear, and we'll talk about how to get all three of those things. And then I'm going to break with tradition here on the channel and give you guys some of my additional feedback and thoughts that I have of ways that they can continue to improve this system to kind of address the lack of gear and XP and gold that is being acquired. But we'll talk about that more here in a little bit. You can also from him buy various different crafting materials, and thus if you've got the coin to spend and it's burning a hole in your pocket, you can definitely come and check him out as an additional vendor. And if I go ahead and purchase one of these beautiful things, you can see here it is not numbered. You can buy as much as coin in your pocket does exist. Now it's also important to note that if you play multiple characters like I do, your Gloom seed is not shared between the two. Your upgrades, however, are shared. So investing in your upgrades is a really good way to benefit all of your characters. But you can see here, as you use your Gloom seed on each character, or you gain it on each character, it is character specific in this case. Now in my comments and also on the official forums, I'm seeing a lot of talk about how do you gear up, how do you get these materials now that they are no longer dropping in the Crucible. And so GBiz writes, now that they removed the loot from the Crucible, how in the world does anyone get any kind of decent gear and coin? That is my biggest concern now. Also, does anyone know where the statue to respec got moved to? I don't see it in the Crucible atrium. And to answer the last question, once you unlock that iron upgrade as a part of the Crucible, it shows back up. So that is the key aspect. But let's talk about getting gear and how you do that at the current time of recording. As this changes, guys, be sure to keep it locked to the channel, and I will keep you guys up to date. Personally speaking, I'm going to point you to bounty hunting and challenges as a key driving motivator to get out into the open world. Figure out which bounty that you want to pick. You can take one of the daily bounties and you can take one of the weekly bounties. And with that bounty, and then making sure that you have all of your challenges accepted for that day as well as for the week, this is going to help feed you with plenty of coin, which is going to be important. But more than coin, it's actually going to give you, if you press the select button, it's going to give you a destination. It's going to tell you where things can be found and where you probably want to go to head to get the specific thing. Now with your bounties selected, you can press your select button and you can jump into your map. And so the bounty that I have is here on the Black Trench. So if you're ever looking on your map and you don't see where the bounty is taking part, you could go probably check to make sure that you are not trying to look for the Black Trench, and that is what happened to me. So here you can see I'm working on the Deadly Cure. Now what this does is that as I go ahead and run the content, there's going to be lots of things to do and to grab, chests to open and monsters to kill. And so grabbing these different bounties is a good motivational way to find yourself getting out into the open world and making that progress. So enemies will drop crafting materials as well as plenty of gear, and then you will occasionally come across these different chests in which that you can loot. If the item that you get, if you just pull up the inventory, if you don't find that you're like, oh, I really need that, I really don't need the sword, or I can't equip it, you can always then go and sell these to any of the vendors and thus continue to feed yourself with additional coin. You can see here roughly the different tiers will offer different values, and then you could end up just kind of racking up a lot of coin on a specific run based off of just drops from the enemies as well as from different treasure chests. And also, if you're ever in the mood, you can always come in here and apply various different markers to different areas. So if you're like, yep, there's a chest there, it might not necessarily always be there, but you can mark the map with various different chest markers, so that way you know what's a good route to take when trying to get your gear and your coin grinded up. And with your bounty complete, find the nearest echo to return, pick up another bounty, and grab any chests, any drops, or even any crafting materials along the way. And also make sure you return to the captain to complete and get your rewards. Bounties can also offer gear drops as well, so just figure out what you need. This is going to be a Nameless pass. I can press select and I can zoom out and see that the Nameless pass area has me going right here, and I've already marked a couple of different resources in that area as well. You can see here I've done it a lot of marking on previous areas, which does help when you're running and looking for these different chests. And for the gear that you don't need, you can just jump in here and you can choose to sell it and make a little extra coin alongside the coin drops that you got from the specific run. Now I want to break with tradition for a little bit and give you guys some of my feedback that I have shared with the devs regarding the changes to the Crucible. Namely, if you guys are new around here, the biggest thing that I really enjoy is the grinding of XP. Whenever XP becomes irrelevant, I always feel like the game takes a little bit of a loss. It doesn't need to be the most important thing for you as a player forever, but overall, I would love to see them bring back XP to the Crucible so that it can also act as a leveling mechanism for those of you who are wanting to jump in and play as soon as it unlocks. Because the Crucible does unlock much sooner than it ever has before, I think that would be a really interesting thing to see them add in. And then once you're at level cap, I think it would be really cool to see them bring in XP in some form of reward style system. Not that it's giving you more levels, but every level, quote unquote, worth of XP, you would get yourself maybe another treasure coffer, which you could open up and get some rewards as well. That's what I'm hoping for, that we could see them bring that into the Crucible. And or they could always open up some kind of risk versus reward system in which that every floor that you clear in the Crucible would have a chest, and you could choose to take that chest, or you can choose to roll the dice and see if your chest gets better, and you can keep that stacking. And then if you do die, then you don't, and you haven't opened the chest, then you don't get any of the rewards. But if you do decide to take the rewards, you do get to keep them, but only after you clear the various floor in the Crucible. And the reason is because I actually feel it's a strength to not have to keep leaving the Crucible to go and sell gear and manage your inventory. It takes you out of the flow, but it is very apparent that without that gear and coin, that's going to naturally pull you out of the Crucible anyway, and it would be nice to have something, you know, outside of your exalted system to show for it. But that's just the feedback that I really have. They could do any number of things. I think if they, well, actually what I don't want them to do is bring loot drops to every enemy. That just kind of slows down the run, personally speaking. And that's why having it happen at the end of the floor, or having you have that gambling mechanic of, well, I can open it and see what I get, or I can see if I can get something better and level up that chest by not taking it and see how far I'm willing to push that. If you're willing to push that all the way through the Echo Knight, then you could see some pretty interesting or significant rewards in currency. And who knows, like, they could do anything. And honestly, I'm really excited to see what they do, as this has been such an incredible update. Again, thank you guys so much for checking out this video. Thank you again to Private Division and Moon Studios for sponsoring this video. And thank you all so much for checking it out. If you have not bought this game, check out the link in the description. Check it out even if you have. Clicking those links is a great way of supporting the channel for free, and I really appreciate you guys. Also, huge shout out to the members here on the channel for helping keeping the lights rolling. We just have seen so many new member trains in. Every time I'm live, every 25 members or support over here or on Twitch, I gift out 5 members to the community, and that way you can take part in some exclusive content and also have unique rewards and perks for both YouTube and for the Discord server. Now, with that all being said, I always like to wrap up these videos with a message of hope, and this is something that is, I think, very important for us as human beings, especially in the age of social media, where everything and with AI can feel very inauthentic and very fake, and what we see time and time again, incredibly lonely. But you're not alone. I think that the world and the internet can easily lead into that kind of mindset, and you can even trick yourself into believing it. But it's important to, you know, continue to maintain and to continue to work because there are so many forces working against you. I like my phone. I can look at it for hours if I don't have that personal discipline to set it down. And what I've found is that I look at my screen time, and I want to talk to you guys about this just as a form of mental health and taking care of yourself. Just like you would with maybe food or exercise or alcohol. Like, if you think of your phone and your screen time and your social media time in that same vein as something that is having that dopamine effect on your brain, finding ways to manage that. It's not that it's bad to go on social media. I like using social media. Obviously, I make content on social media, but it's important to set boundaries. And I find that when I look at my screen time phone app, where is my time going and how much time is going there? So I encourage you to take a look at that today, see where you're using your time. It's not bad. There's no judgment for however you choose to use your time, but look at where it is and then see if you want to make a change to any of that. I find putting the phone in a box or turning it off or just putting it to the side face down so I don't ever see it light up is a really good practice. And obviously I try to keep screens out of my eyes after 9 o'clock in the evening, so that way it doesn't impact my sleep. And sleep is a huge value to you, especially if you're out there struggling. And if you are struggling, you ever need help or you got any questions, you can always reach out over on the Discord and in the comments. We're here for you and we're rooting for you. And I hope that you are doing well. And if not, I hope that I can help out in some way. Anyway, guys, that's it for the video. Thank you so much for sticking through the message of hope. If you made it all the way to the end, sound off in the comments with hooty hoot, message of hope. And we'll hopefully be able to that just brings a joy to my life, a little smile to my face. And thank you guys again. And I hope I will see you guys in the next video. But until then, take care.